Well, hey, Dave here, Fix and Fly RC. I think this is installment number 5 on the F-16 transformation to the Israeli camo. And so, as you can see, actually starting to see a little bit of the vision coming to light, starting to look a little bit more like what I was hoping for. I'm going to go through a couple things on this video on how I did marked off for how to paint these areas and how I made that happen. Got a little trick there I learned, and hopefully that'll help you guys. So one thing that when you're taking on a project like this, it always does is to do some research. Look at pictures, look at some real graphics, get some idea. You're never going to match it exactly, of course, but the idea is to kind of get the general concept. So, I did some searching, I went and found some pictures of some, things that models that people have made, actually got some actual pictures off the internet, to give me some ideas of the scheme. And so you'll see one thing missing on here. You'll see here there's some green splotches in some areas that I still have to do. The green paint that I'm wanting to use, the Israeli green, is on back order and it hasn't come in yet. So that's kind of got me stalled just a little bit. And but I'm still I'm going to go to the hobby shop today to see if I can find something close. But so I did something like that to kind of give me the general, what do I want the plane to look like I said in the previous video. I went and searched and found out and got as close as I could to the actual colors that I could get to match it, so to be as realistic as possible. So so we're waiting on the green. So here we are. So I'm pretty happy with the way it looks. Like I said before, and you can't see it from here, but there's definitely some imperfections in the foam that I missed when I was putting the lightweight spackle down and doing the polyacrylic. And again, if this was going to be like a show plane or something like that, I would definitely have to go back and do a lot of cleanup, resanding, respackling, polyacrylic, and kind of repainting and all that kind of stuff. But again, this is just kind of my first attempt at redoing an entire plane like this and learning, and so I'll do better next time. But I did want to throw a couple things out there. You can find this stuff on the internet as well, but I'll go through here in a minute how I did this. But a lot of people, when you're taping, and I mentioned in my last video how when I was doing some masking, like when I was painting the top and I was masking so I didn't get it on underneath, that pulled up paint in a few places. And that's a pretty common problem with these paint schemes. Really, even if you buy the plane straight from the factory, that's pretty common that you can pull the paint up. And so there's a couple different tapes that people use. Now this is just your regular blue painter's tape. I would not really recommend this too much if you're worried about pulling it up. This is is frog tape. You can order it off Ace or Amazon. I got this at Ace Hardware, and this does a little bit better. It's a little less tactful. And of course, a couple of things that people do to try to take some of that tack off of it is they'll, jeans or a sweatshirt like this, and they'll take it, and you can feel how much tack it takes off the tape. And so it's less likely to pull your paint up because you can take the tack off. So you'll want to do that if you're taping stuff. Another thing that I've done on some planes that helped is I've gotten some baby powder, and you can sprinkle it on the areas that you want to protect. And you'll have to, you don't want it obviously on the part that you're going to be painting, but on the part that you're trying to keep the tape from sticking to. And just a real light coat, that does a pretty good job too. And the tape will just, a lot of times it just pulls right up. So that, the one thing you always want to do is, if you have an old plane, or like me, I got 2 or 3 piece parts, from planes left over. And if I'm not sure stuff, I'll just take a piece of foam, from an old plane, and I'll try it out and see how it works. And that'll just give you a feel before you jump straight into the plane. So pretty happy with that. That part. So now, how did I do this? Well, one thing, as I was researching, they're talking about in these camos and stuff like that, you'll notice that what they call, they're not sharp lines, but they're kind of rolled or faded lines, so camo doesn't have these real distinct hard lines. And of course, you see the curves, but even in the painted surfaces themselves. And so, one way you could, do that, you would have to, if you want to mark that off, especially these kind of complicated surfaces, you would take some tape like this. And what I've done in the past, I've just got me a cutting board and, and cut, thin, real thin strips that, you can maneuver around. And then you got to kind of fill in around that. And then of course, you got to worry about it sticking. And if it, pull up a little paint, then you got to patch it. So the one thing that I did in this plane, and it worked out great, so this will be, I'll use this similar method, is I got this at Michael's. This Scotch is called removable putty, mounting putty. So it's non-hardening, and it doesn't leave a sticky surface. So it comes in these 4 little square things like this. And so what you have to do, and this is just a piece of one, is I took it on another table that I got where I had some room and just laid it out and just started, rolling it out until this, kind of a snake form. And so now you have something clearly you can maneuver around like that. So, what I would do is I would start, and I would just kind of put here and just kind of, some of the tack's gone off this one because it's got paint on it, but you would just kind of go around your surface like this, however you want the shape, kind of push it down so it's just slightly, stuck to the plane, and you would do your whole shape that way. And then what I would do that really helped a lot and is I'd get me some wet paper towels, just dampen it. You don't want it dripping wet, just dampen it. And what you can do is, now the area you want to protect, you can just kind of slowly, you can kind of move that around like that. And sometimes I would even just kind of squeeze that into place like this, kind of hold it in place. And then if I had any big areas, I got just an old towel or something, I would cover up, a big area like that. And I would just cover the paints and then as I was airbrushing, I would take my hand and just kind of hold the towel down. And of course I'd be on the other side of the plane and kind of spray at a 45-degree angle and kind of fill in the thing. And then when you get done, all you got to do is, take your covering off, the wet paper towel, just lifts right off. And this is non-sticky, and it would just kind of, and I would just kind of peel away from the paint. But airbrush paint dries pretty fast, so you just have to leave it just a minute or two. And the paint that I was using, I was able to, a lot of times airbrush paint will kind of clog up if it sits too long, and it'll get hard in the nozzle. But I was able to do a section, pull it off, remark the next section, and paint without having to clean my airbrush every time. I would clean the tip out, just get me with some airbrush cleaner or thinner and a paper towel, and I would just clean the tip and just get any hard stuff. I'd get me an old paper towel and I'd spray just a little bit in there to make sure if there was any spackling that came out, and then I could start painting. So I actually was able to do all the brown without having to completely clean my air gun, and I thought that was really helpful. And so I was pretty pleased with that. And so again, that was the method that I've used. I do have a little bit of cleanup here and there. I had a little bit of overspray here where the paper towel came loose on me that I may or may not clean up. Like I said, I've got a few places where the tape, where I was masking off after I painted the blue and was masking off so I could paint the top. There was a few places where the paint has pulled up from the tape. So again, that was probably an area where I didn't get sanded good, and it was just too smooth of a surface. So we're kind of at a standstill now. Oh, I was gonna cover one other thing. So, if you're familiar with the nose cone, obviously that was bright red, standard. This is not the same gray that's underneath. It's close, but what I did with this, I had two different grays. I had this neutral gray, it's 71051. And I put 3 or 4 just light coats of that on there. And then I came back and put the final at 71275. It's a medium gray. And just put a light coat on there. Now, again, in the real plane, this is not going to be, because it's going to show some wear and tear. So I'll go back and look at some weathering, pictures, and probably do a little weathering to make it a little more realistic once I get everything on. So I got the green to put on. Probably would do some work back here on the nozzle. Haven't figured exactly how I want to do that one yet. Still got to paint the missiles and get the missiles on. And I ordered the graphics from Cali Graphics. And if you've never used Cali Graphics, highly recommend her. Great product. She's very responsive. And she's got a lot of stuff already made up. She does custom stuff as well. I've never done a custom order from her yet. Takes a little bit longer if you do custom, but usually ships within a week after an order. So I'm sure I won't be ready for that. So I'll get the graphics on there. After I get all that done, I'll put, after I get the painting done, I'll put a coat of sealer on there and then put the graphics on there, so I can protect the paint. And then after I get that done and the sealer put on, that's when I'll actually come back and do the weathering. That'll give me some protection against this. If I need to change anything from the weathering, it'll make cleanup a little bit easier if I have to change it. So we're going to see how it turns out. But anyway, this is where it stands. I'm kind of a little bit out of a pause and wait now. So hopefully it won't be too long until I get some green paint, or maybe the hobby shop has some today. Got to go buy some batteries for another plane that they had gone out on me yesterday, so it was time for some new ones anyway. So anyway, hope everybody has a happy new year. Dave, Fix Fly RC. Give me a comment or a shout out if you think any of this helps. Have a great day out here.